Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. The fields around Kassel shimmered with summer heat. The scent of rye and damp earth hung heavy in the air. Johann Müller paused his plow horse and wiped his brow. The land he'd inherited was thin and tired, cut smaller with every generation. His wife, Greta, had said the night before, "Land doesn't grow, Johann, but our children do." She was right. Their eldest, Matthias, would soon be 18, with nothing left to inherit. Johann's grandfather used to tell stories about cousins who'd gone to America, where the soil was rich and a man could own what he tilled. Those stories had once sounded like fairy tales. Now they sounded like a lifeline. The Müllers had farmed this same slope for as long as anyone remembered. Johann's grandfather, Heinrich, was born in the shadow of war and famine. His son Dieter rebuilt the farmhouse after a fire and kept bees in the orchard that still buzzed with the sweetness of spring. Each evening Greta would light the lamp and read from the family Bible. Its margins were crowded with names, births, marriages, deaths. Matthias would trace them with his finger and whisper, "We have always been here." And Johann would answer softly, "Yes, that is the problem." By 1848, revolution swept through the German states. Taxes rose, bread grew scarce. In the markets of Kassel, soldiers patrolled while pamphlets promised freedom. A neighbor returned from Bremen with one of those pamphlets. It was printed in clumsy English. "Land in America for the hard-working man." He spoke of letters from cousins in Cincinnati, German bakeries, Lutheran churches, music halls, and wages paid in coin. Johann read the pamphlet 3 times. "They say the voyage takes 6 weeks, he told Greta. "And if the sea takes us," she asked, "then the sea will bury us where the land has refused to feed us." She met his eyes for a long moment. "Then we go," she said, "while we still have the strength." In April of 1849 they left Kassel, Johann, Greta, Matthias, 12-year-old Liesel, and baby Wilhelm. They carried 1 trunk, a beehive frame from Dieter's orchard, and Greta's Bible. Their ship from Bremen was called Der Loh. Its hull groaned beneath families and barrels and livestock. Johann worked his hands raw, helping the crew lash the cargo, earning part of their passage that way. Liesel remembered the sea for the rest of her life, the smell of salt and sickness, the taste of tin bowls and hard bread, and waves that rose higher than houses. One night, while the wind screamed through the rigging, Johann whispered, "I never thought the world could be this large." Greta answered, "And I never thought it could be this empty." After 7 weeks, they reached New York. Castle Garden was their first stop. No Ellis Island yet, just a stone hall filled with shouts and papers and hope. "Destination?" the clerk asked. "Cincinnati," Johann said carefully. The clerk nodded. "You'll find your people there." Cincinnati smelled of smoke and bread. German voices echoed through the narrow streets of over the Rhine. Johann found work hauling kegs in a brewery cellar by the river. Greta washed laundry for neighbors. Matthias apprenticed to a cabinet maker. He had his father's hands and his mother's patience. On Sunday evenings they gathered at St. Mary's Church, singing hymns in German. Greta would close her eyes and picture the bells of Kassel, and Johann would watch his children laughing in the courtyard, knowing the price had been worth it. When he died in 1872, Matthias carved his name into an oak headstone. Geboren in Hesse, gestorben in Freiheit. Born in Hesse, died in freedom. By then, Cincinnati had become a city of spires and breweries. Matthias owned his own cabinet shop. He married Anna Vogel, the shoemaker's daughter from Württemberg. They raised 3 children, Karl, Elise, and Paul. At home they spoke German. At school the children learned English. "We must belong here," Matthias told them, "but never forget who we are." Karl fought in the Spanish-American War and came home with a limp. Elise married a pharmacist who strung the first electric sign on their street. Paul stayed in the workshop, carving church pews with lilies that climbed their sides like prayers in wood. Then came 1914. War in Europe turned neighbor against neighbor. The newspapers called for loyalty tests. Paul awoke one morning to find their shop sign defaced. Müller and Sons Traders. He repainted it himself, changing the name to Miller. "It is easier this way," he told his wife. "Wood has no homeland." The Müllers endured the lean times. Carl's son Henry worked at a printing press. His sister Clara became a schoolteacher. The German clubs closed. The newspapers printed in English now. But in the kitchen, the language lingered. Danke, Guten Morgen, Schatz. Every Christmas, Clara baked the same honey cookies Greta had made in Kassel. In 1955, when Henry's son Walter came home from Korea, Clara handed him the family Bible. Its pages were fragile, the names faded. Heinrich, Dieter, Johann, Matthias, Paul. Walter turned it in his hands. "What will I do with this?" "Keep it," Clara said. "It's our map." Decades passed. Walter's granddaughter Emily was 28 when she found that Bible tucked in a cedar chest. She was building her family tree online when a question appeared. "Do you have German ancestry in your family?" She smiled. "Yes," she said aloud. "I think we do." That night she traced those old names through census pages and ship lists until she found it. Johann Müller's neat signature on a passenger manifest from Bremen. The same careful handwriting her own father had. A month later, Emily stood in Germany. Kassel had changed, but the hills had not. She walked the ridge where the farm once stood, breathing in the scent of rye and damp earth. She whispered, "We came from here." And for a moment, she swore she heard Greta's voice again. "Land doesn't grow, Johann, but our children do." When Emily returned home, she framed Johann and Greta's names beside the old Bible. Her father looked at it and smiled. They'd never believe we'd still be talking about them. "Maybe they would," Emily said. "They crossed an ocean, so we'd have something worth remembering." She looked out across the wide Ohio River, brown, steady, familiar, and thought of the Neckar River half a world away. The water never stands still, but it always connects. That is the journey from Germany. If you've got a hard-to-find ancestor you're stuck on, I'd love to hear about it. Just head over to ancestralfindings.com and click on Contact to send me a message. While you're there, take advantage of our free weekly genealogy lookups. Explore thousands of articles and enjoy hundreds of podcast episodes. We've been helping family history researchers since 1995. And if you're looking for even more, check out our Genealogy Gold Q&A series over on Patreon. Thanks for listening. And as always, happy searching.